So, the Age of Enlightenment, which came in with the founders of 1776, the reason it came in with them is because, well, many of them were higher, some of them were higher educated, but at the same time, there was this Age of Enlightenment moving across everywhere. And on top of that, you had what was overlapping that, the scientific revolution. All these things all made people stupid. They did. They did. Now, people would argue, well, no, we came up with this, we came up with that. Yeah, and what over time, what has the science and technology done? You've lost more liberties because of both of those things. Science has never cured anything. Never. Yet they find antibiotics in the terrain, in the rainforest, okay? That was probably the biggest thing that put them on the map, but nobody recognizes that, no, a cure means it's eradicated, it's gone. You can't use vaccines. It is not progress when 50 years ago kids were getting 10 vaccines and now they get 75. That's showing, but then you find out that no, they've been doing gain of function research. They're crossing animals with all different viruses, then release it, and a bioweapon hit the whole world in 2020, deliberately released. Okay, so that's not enlightenment. I don't care how many letters they have after their name. I don't care if they went to Harvard. These are the same people that supported drag time story hour in the classroom for 10-year-olds, while these transvestites went in with no underwear on and these short skirts, and they were males and they looked like a total clown show, and it was all to cause harm to these kids that aren't ready to see that stuff. And yet what did the science do? They supported it. The politicians, all the left. And then on top of it, you had your science, your medicine that supported children changing their genders. That's not, and they've all these scientists forgot about the frontal lobe. How is that possible when we know that evidence? That's showing that enlightenment is a false light. And it has been. And look, I'm not saying God's against science. He's not. But he's for science if they want to let him lead. Now, none of the science would understand that, right? Because they've been literally educated to never even consider God, which is why they're very close-minded and why we have more problems today than we do answers. Okay? And the biggest thing that Ben Franklin and the founders forgot is that God does intervene, and God intervened for them in the war because they wrote about it. But it's classic what happens in the Bible. Everybody does this. They forget about God. And then as they think they're becoming enlightened and it's just a false light, they start to think they're becoming the God. And all of it is false, which is why the fruits it ends up developing, when you look at it on an overall scale, has taken more of your liberties, taken more of your freedoms, and yet the science and technology always come before you. Always. They always will. Because now that they've been here, they use that as, no, we have to do this for safety, we have to do that for safety. And in 2020, every person in this country showed that they were willing to just do whatever they were told and not ask any questions. That's not enlightenment. So you can have the 25 letters after your name, but when you can't even ask simple questions like, no, this isn't right, and you just believe whatever you're told, just like the climate people believe whatever they're told about climate crisis, yet completely disregard the fact that if no human was on this planet, that the plants and the animals would be provided for because the creator that created all that provides for them. Yeah, he was providing for them long before humans were here. Yet these deadbeats that want to carry on about climate crisis, and it's such bullshit because it's just a tactic used. But all of them have been trained. No, I believe what I'm told. I don't ask questions because I believe the person from Harvard. Okay. So, and then it's because of this scientific overlap, it's what led to your liberalism, your socialism. It also led to classism. It led to all the things that caused division, that caused all this fighting. And some of it was good, like people asking questions. But one of the things it did was, let's just let go of these superstitions. Yeah, that was part of the age of it. Yet you think that spirit that was around during the Holocaust or was around during any other time. I mean, that Baal, that those gods that people do human sacrifices to, that has never gone away. Yet you try to tell some scientists that, oh, we're more educated and more advanced. No, we're not. We're not. You can tell yourself that because, 60 years ago, nobody had a cell phone, a smartphone in their hand. So you want to say that's advancement. It's not advancement when it comes to the human mind or the human being. It's not. True enlightenment is knowing God, and God gives you wisdom and knowledge. He does. He does. That's true enlightenment. The science would never accept that because they're too close-minded. They literally, there's so many of them that just get mad about God. Yet the basic simple facts that you think that everything exploded here, but it just happens to operate so perfectly. Like, that's just stupidity. So this whole idea that the Age of Enlightenment came in, it was a false light. It really was. I mean, yeah, antibiotics put, that deceptive one knows that I got to throw them some good stuff every once in a while. But a lot of it has been just, look at, we have more things to go get tested for something, but never one cure. You know why? And it'll always be that way because the hospital can charge you more with the more equipment they bring in. It doesn't serve them to cure you. I don't even think doctors sit and think of that because nobody ever does any thinking. So none of that is enlightenment. Never being able to step outside the box of what your university taught you or what the people on the news tell you shows no enlightenment at all. It just shows a mindless zombie. And nobody recognizing that DEI is literally scientific racism. So everything that was already known about, they just went and did. And so back when they thought they were so enlightened and they weren't, the scientific revolution came in, it brought scientific racism, it brought all this division. And then the same thing repeated these past few years because they brought DEI in, which was scientific racism. I mean, in healthcare, it's scientific racism. It says here, because there was this enlightenment was marked by increasing awareness of the relationship between the mind and everyday media of the world, and by emphasis on the scientific method. But look at where the scientific method went. Like everybody got stupider because it's always been a false light. Because the simplest things and all of the enlightened people weren't getting, like that, no, you shouldn't mutilate children's genitals. No, you shouldn't have drag time story hour in the classroom at school. Okay? It's abuse, literally sexual abuse in many ways, because these men deliberately aren't wearing any underwear under their short skirts, these transvestites, and it's because they want the kids to see their stuff. It's sick. It's depraved. So that's not enlightenment. It's been a false light. And then with scientific racism, which I keep bringing up, it's also referred to as biological racism. They ended up getting rid of this, but we saw it come back. It came back with DEI, because it says here they no longer believe in the physical, mental characteristics and dividing people into groups. It's also referred to as racialism, racial realism, race realism, and race science. Modern scientific consensus rejects this view as being irreconcilable with modern genetic research. But they can't recognize that DEI is literally this. Because again, it's saying, no, these are the undeserved that haven't been, we have to hire them up while we discriminate. That's not being equal at all. You've just reversed everything. So that's why it's been a false age of enlightenment. And with that false age of enlightenment, what has come is atheism. No longer believing that spirits are still around, okay? Because everybody has believed they're the God and they're so smart, all while following the false light that has only made everybody stupid.